Oh, well, there we go.
We have
All
audio.
right. Okay.
Hello.
We are live. Our first
Q&A.
in a while, at least.
Uh-huh.
First doTERRA business Q&A. Um, just gonna pull this up on my phone. Yep, looks
Well,
like
there we go.
we can hear. So this will enable us to kind of focus on live questions. We have received a lot of questions
Mm.
in a couple different groups. That we run. So we're gonna
Well, there we go.
attack a bunch of
Good
those.
idea.
All right. Okay.
Um, so we're gonna answer a bunch of those questions first. But for those of you who are live on YouTube, feel free to answer or to put any questions about building a doTERRA business that you have in the chat as we're going through. And I think we should just do a little intro because there might
Yep.
be some people who this video gets shared with who don't know who we are. So
We are the Halls, Matt and Shantae, and we have been in doTERRA for 9 years. We got started 9 years ago when we were still really young. We were in college, engaged to be married, and decided to start building the business together before we were married, and have never looked back. We had a lot of vision then. We loved the company. I started using the oils for emotional support that I needed at that time. And Matt originally was a little skeptical, or a lot skeptical, if we're to be honest. But very quickly, after doing some research, reading some studies, using the oils, he was hooked as well. And 2 weeks later, he was all in with me. And we've had lots and lots of ups and downs, things that have gone really well in our business, lots of strategies and different things that we've tried, things that really work, things that totally don't work at all.
yeah,
And yeah, that's kind of our story. So we've 9 years. It was 5 years to. I haven't started this, but do you want me to start that?
maybe we start on Instagram.
Okay, I'm just gonna go live on Instagram so they can hear us too.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was 5 years to. I don't know why it's not doing it, but
Okay, I got it.
5 years to diamond, and we had the intention of being diamond within a year, and so that felt so slow. And it's interesting because now when I tell people, it took us 5 years to get to diamond, they're like, well, that doesn't seem that long. Like, wasn't it worth it? Of course, it has been completely worth it. But there were so many years there where we felt stuck, and where we really, really felt stuck. And we spent 3.5, almost 4 years, right? Was it
4 years.
4 years
It's 4 years.
at
Yeah.
Platinum? And then 2 years after that, within 7 years building our business, we hit Presidential Diamond. And so today we want to just go through, answer some of your questions, whether that is, tactics, strategy, tips, tricks that we have learned over the years, and give you guys some ideas. All right.
Okay, for some reason, oh, hello there. For some reason, it's not.
Let's just not do this.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
okay.
just focus on YouTube, I guess. Okay, so as we're going through, we're going to give priority, obviously, to any questions that come in here live in the chat in YouTube. So we're watching it on our phones. If you guys have any questions about, strategy, Shantae does a weekly mindset coaching call where she really helps people realign their thoughts, which obviously we know drive your emotions, which is what drives your actions, which is what drives your results. And so if you're not getting the results you want, usually there's mindset work that needs to be done as well. That's a free call every single week, and I recommend you reach out to her to plug into that. So we're not going to do very much mindset in this Q&A, although it's probably the most important thing. But we know that, people have questions about strategies, techniques, things like that. So we have a lot of questions here to go through that were posted in some of these groups. And so I want to dig right into it. And the first like 4 or 5 were pretty similar. So I want to read some of these to you. So Tiffany asked, how do you recruit serious leaders who want to rank advance as well? Cornelia said, finding people who are excited becoming wildly free. I would like to lead with this, the business opportunity. Couple more here. Inviting to build. I'm not yet skilled in recruiting. That was Vanessa. Tanya said recruiting. Tamara said finding people to run with me doing the business. Erica said getting serious builders. Patrice said recruiting and team building. Yeah, Romelia said LRP and recruiting serious builders. So all of those questions were like, hey, we want running partners. And I love this question because you can make money in doTERRA just selling the products, like just posting on social media, creating curiosity, creating conversations, and selling the products to get commissions. But honestly, this business, it gets really fun as soon as you have your first running mate, right? Like as soon as you have somebody who's on board with you, who sees the vision, is like, wow, I want to do this. That's when it gets really, really fun. And so we're going to give you a couple tips around recruiting and finding builders. Now, one thing that I want to, the first thing I want to mention on this, and we can just go back and forth with different tips, but a lot of times people ask themselves, how can I recruit serious leaders, right? Like this question from Tiffany. And most of the time, you're not going to recruit someone who's going to be a serious leader from day one, right? Most of the time, it's an evolution. There are ways that you can create intrigue and create passion in people quickly where they'll make a bigger commitment up front. That was us. But even us, we were all in for the business from day one. But if you think about it, she used the products for a whole year and a half before joining the business, right? So it wasn't really from day one. Yeah. And that usage of the product is part of what made you so committed and excited about it.
Totally. It was the reason.
Yeah. So there's a process of helping your prospect or your new recruit evolve in their commitment to leadership. And this is where I like to make the distinction a lot that our business is not a business of just generating volume. Some people look at it and they think, okay, me and my team need to create 3,000 in volume to become an elite, or 5,000 to become a premier, or 9,000 to be a silver. And that's not what it is. Especially as you grow, this business is all about developing people. And as you develop leaders and independent leaders, that's where truly you achieve freedom for yourself and for them, where they're not dependent on you. They have their own vision. And now we have over 100 diamonds on our team, and none of those diamonds depend on us, right? Yeah. They're all independent leaders. So there's some, now we can give you some different tips about recruiting builders and also developing people into leaders.
Yeah. So one that comes to mind for me that has been really important for us is the process of creating vision. From the very beginning, we naturally had vision because we were so excited about it, right? So I loved the products, and they just had completely transformed my life. And they were how I was coping with my life emotionally. And I wanted to do something meaningful. I had just gotten done doing a service mission for my church. I didn't want to, just have a normal job. I wanted to do something that had purpose. And so then when we found out about the business opportunity, we found out about what that really could mean for our future, we couldn't shut up about it. Honestly, we were telling everyone about the business opportunity. And that's one of the most important things. Is so often we think, okay, because I need to start with the product and I need to make sure I lead with the product, we miss so many opportunities to just share what it's like building the doTERRA business and inviting people to just learn about it. We don't have to pressure people into becoming builders. Just always be inviting people to just see what it looks like. Just come learn to see what it looks like. It might be for you, it might not be. Right? But just come learn and see what it looks like. And we were always inviting people to just come look at what it looked like to build a business.
Yeah. And people always want the perfect script, the perfect words. And for me, at least, all of these years, my invite hasn't really changed. I learned a phrase, are you open to learn? And I just if you just simplify the process for yourself, that's often where you will then have courage to take the action. If every time, every interaction, you're trying to find, the right words or the right way for the right person, and I'm not saying, there's a common saying that you can't say the right thing to the wrong person and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. I actually don't believe that's true.
There's some truth to it.
There's some truth to it, but you can say the wrong thing. You there's plenty of wrong things you could say, right? but not if you just keep it simple. And so that's where my invite to build is always, hey, if you're new in the business, I'd say, hey, recently I started a project where I'm teaching people about wellness and I'm generating an extra income for my family. Would you be open to learn about it? Right? And that question, are you open to learn? That's the door. And if the person says, no, I'm not open, then there's not much you can do to open them, right? They need to open themselves. But the question is so non-imposing that most people, they are open to just take a look and learn, like Shantae was saying. So that's a good first tip. A couple questions here in the chat really quick, and then we'll keep going on finding and building. And I just want to recognize those of you who are here live on YouTube. We've got Jeff, Lisa, Cologne, Tammy, Courtney, Sarah. Good to see you guys here. We're going to get to your questions right after we wrap up this question. Okay, so keep putting your questions in the chat in YouTube, and we'll get to those in a minute. Now, a couple other things about finding serious leaders. People are not numbers, right? But it is a numbers game, right, in our business. So part of it is you're going to have to go through the volume of people to find those who are truly committed. And for us, we got to platinum, and then the reason we stayed plateaued for 4 years is because we got in management mode. And if you look at the graph, and I've done a presentation on this before, but if you look at the graph of our fast starts, they drastically dropped off after we hit platinum and we started managing instead of personally recruiting. And so what we needed to do was learn new skills so that we could go out, and because we had talked to most of the people that we knew in our personal life, and we needed to learn new skills to go out and find new people. And so we really committed to learning some social media skills. We're going to answer some questions about that, and asking that question, are you open to learn to more people, right? So if you're not starting new conversations, then your business is going to die. Like even today, I spend 80% of my time in doTERRA prospecting, like talking to new people or launching brand new builders, and maybe 20% of my time maintaining our current team. Mm-hmm. And we have a team of hundreds of thousands of people. And even so, we don't spend more than probably 10 hours a week.
But the beautiful thing about doTERRA is as you're developing leaders, if you're truly developing leaders, then they step into a space where they can help to manage their own teams. And so that management part shouldn't take all of your time, right? There is some important steps to take in helping to manage your team and make sure they're continuing to get support. But that shouldn't take more than the 20% of your time.
Yeah. So let's transition to how do you develop somebody into a committed leader really quick. And I'll just give you a couple tips. One is people really go through 3 stages of evolution in your business to help you achieve freedom. Okay. The first step is you plug them into systems. Okay. The first step is you use systems. The second step is skills. They need to develop skills. And the third step is leadership. They need to develop their leadership. And you need to have a plan for how you take people through each phase of their building journey. So in the beginning, one of the comments that came in here on Facebook was, let me see if I can find it. Maybe it's down here lower. But basically she said, I get people started and then they see how much work it's going to be and then they stop. So that means that in your initial phase of launching that builder, you're overwhelming them, right? And that's why we use systems. That's why, for me, I love a system called the Hot Market Approach, where it's a very simple message that people can send out to some of their closest friends, super low pressure, and it can get them some sales within their first couple days. And it just creates this confidence of, wow, this business works. Wow, people will buy these products. Wow, I can do this. And we don't talk about, hey, you're going to need to learn to do this presentation. Here's the build guide. Here's this. Like, we keep it super simple and give them specific assignments, right? So with a new builder, you want to start with small assignments, and that can be host a class, invite 10 people. That's it, right? That's it. That's it. And then after that, it can be, okay, let's teach you how to build and teach you how to teach this class, right? And you just lay those bricks one at a time. But oftentimes we paint a picture that doTERRA is super complex, and that scares people from the development.
Add to that. So another thing is just having really good upfront expectations. Like or like being clear on what it is going to take. So in the beginning, one of the mistakes that we made was we honestly painted a picture of this is going to be kind of easy. Like, I don't think we used the word easy, but it must have sounded something like, just share with all your friends and you'll make a bunch of money. Like, I'm just kidding. Like, I don't think it was really that crazy. But everyone felt like they could just share a tiny bit and then they were going to be diamond. And we kept running into this problem where people were just overwhelmed with what it was going to take. And then what we learned is this is a business. And any business that you start is going to take work. And so when we're launching builders now, we have a few things that we do. One of those is we try to help them to become as independent from us as fast as possible. And we'll even look at them and say, my goal for you is to become as independent from me as fast as possible. Would you agree that that's a good goal? And they're like, yeah, that's great, because then I can, be on my own and really be growing at the pace that I want to grow. The other one is just helping them recognize that this is a business. And in business, we spend our time, we invest in our business, and all of those things go towards really helping you to have a solid business, not just a hobby, right? I think some people get into this thinking they can just do it as a hobby and then they can get to diamond or blue diamond. You can do it as a hobby and get to silver, right? But if you want to make it a business, then you need to treat it like a business. And so we have those upfront conversations.
Yeah. Awesome. So there's a lot of questions here, so I think we should get into these. But the last thing I want to say on just finding builders and recruiting builders is, well, two things. One is Tammy mentioned here, I talked to my brother on the phone about doTERRA and he hangs up on me. Well, then he's probably not someone who's open, right? And so the attachment to certain people building the business is something that you just have to get over. Like, we invite people, and honestly, we continue to invite people in a non-pressure, just, hey, are you open? No. Okay. A month later, are you open to taking a look? No. Okay. But you should never be addicted to one person, or anybody specific joining your team. It's all about just, going and talking to new people. And the other thing I'll say is, are you sharing your, publicly through social media, the fact that you're building doTERRA, right? People want to be a part of a community. They want to be a part of a team. And so every single time you have a new sign up in your business, if I were you, I'd be posting a story saying, wow, I'm so grateful. I got another, I just had a new person sign up as a customer with me in doTERRA. I'm so excited to help you, Julie, on your wellness journey. Boom, post it in your stories with a little picture of Julie, or maybe the email that came in from doTERRA saying new enrollment, right? Celebrate the wins in the business publicly, and it creates intrigue. It creates a desire for people to be a part of what you're doing. Like if somebody rank advances to manager, let's say you're just getting started on your team and someone hits manager, you should share that on your stories and be like, wow, this person just hit, Lisa just hit manager on our team. I'm so excited. This is the first step in our compensation plan. We're so happy for her. And you're not, and just as you post these things, congratulating people and showing publicly that you're building the business, it's going to create more exposures, because most people, it's going to take them some time watching you. And your consistency is part of what's going to attract them to build with you. If they can't tell right now, if your people, your followers, they can't really tell if you're actively building and launching new teams or not, then they're not going to sign up with you. They're going to go follow somebody else and find somebody else who's actively building, and they're going to sign up with that person, right? So that's the other thing I'd say. Okay, let's get into some of these questions here in YouTube. So, Jeff is asking how to connect about the weekly mindset training. Reach out to Shantae. Our Instagram is Matt_Shantae. That's SEANTAY. If you send us a direct message with your phone number, then we'll get you connected to the.
We'll give you the link.
The reminders. You'll get the reminders for those calls every Monday at.
Yeah, it's Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
And Shantae's a ninja. She's really, really good. Okay, Tammy says, I've been in doTERRA since April. I share chat and only get customers. I need signups and customers. Give me tips on how you approached. Okay. I share chat and only get customers. So it sounds like you're good at customers, but you want more customers and you want business. builders, I guess. I think we've kind of addressed that a little bit. But one last tip I'll say, because you did mention, I don't know if that means that she's posting. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. So maybe you can clarify your question, Tammy. But I think we've answered some pieces of it. Okay. Courtney asked about the compensation plan. Courtney, there's an awesome video on this same YouTube channel where I go in depth into every single bonus. So just look up. In fact, if you just search on YouTube, doTERRA compensation plan Matt Hall, you'll find that video, and I can send you the link later. Okay. So Sarah, I want to hear more about making leaders be as independent from you as possible. I struggle in having the team aspect and then having people be independent. My team is either one or the other. Okay.
Oh yeah, okay. So I had mentioned this on the mindset call, and she was intrigued by that phrasing.
Yeah. So Shantae already gave one tip, which is at the very beginning we set the expectation. Our goal is that you become independent of us as fast as possible. And if they're not willing to buy into that, then that tells us a lot about the level of support that we're going to give them. And what I want you guys
honestly, some people, when we say that, they don't want that. They're like, they want us to teach all of their classes till the end of time. They want us to put builders, like customers and builders under them until the end of time. They don't have what it takes in that mindset to be successful on their own.
And the best thing you can do with people who are not working independent of you is show them examples of you helping other people grow. And so, we get so attached to these people that we have, right? Where it's like, oh, I want it so bad for you. And that's the hardest thing in doTERRA is like, I want it so much more for you than you want it for yourself, right? And the key is to manage your energy there, to really match your energy and go out and find new people and work with new people. Because if you do find somebody, when you do find somebody who is excited about working and becoming independent, and then your old person sees you working with them in that way and sees them even outgrowing them. I always say, like, the best thing you can do for your current team is go build a new team. And it sounds kind of heartless, I think. But honestly, like when those of you who have raised children, right? Like, what do you do when they fall down? Right? You help them get up, right? But do you pick them up every single time for their whole life? No. At some point, they have to get themselves up. They have to stand up. And that's where we lead a volunteer army. We're not paying anybody a salary in doTERRA, right? They're paid commissions on their activity. And so either in through their own pain or through their own inspiration, they're going to decide for themselves that that's what they need to do. So what I'd say is don't wait for that person. Go out and work with new people, but also be there as a constant support.
Yeah, if you're having, continuing education and classes going on in general throughout your team, like there's support that those people can get onto. And so you're not just leaving them behind and dropping them, right? But they're not requiring more of your time because they're not actually building, right? And so that matching energy is really, really important. So I wanted to say one more thing on that. Imagine like you have 3 leaders that you're working with, and they're just kind of committed. They're growing a little bit slower, and they're, they're wanting it. They're telling you they want it, but they're not taking the kind of action that you want it. Is it better to just continue to just focus on those 3 people, or and just maybe it takes another 2 or 3 years to get to a solid platinum or diamond if you did end up starting another one, or if you started 3 new teams in 2 or 3 years hit presidential diamond, right? So it's not that you're just completely like forgetting about these people and letting them go. You're just starting another team. You're helping these continue to grow, and then over time these people that weren't going to be growing really quickly, maybe they would continue to grow. Like us, it took how long to get to diamond and presidential diamond.
Yeah. You're
not just letting go of those people completely. You're just giving them more opportunities to choose in, to step up to the level that they're ready to step up at. People change in their commitment level, right?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's one of the hardest things, but just keep showing up for them. And honestly, you can carry some people on your back to a certain extent, and at the very beginning of your business, it's good to do that, right? because we want to work through people. We want to tap into other people's networks. And so there is a level of, if somebody's not committed to be independent, well, sometimes it's still valuable to carry them on your backs for a little while. But at the same time, only if you free up enough time for yourself to be looking and working towards helping those people who are going to become independent, so that you don't have to be carrying people on your back for your whole doTERRA journey, right? Because that's exhausting, and it's one of the reasons people quit. Tammy, it's so nice to meet you too. Thank you for being here. That was a sweet comment. Okay, Jeff says, be your true self in your top strengths. Is relationship builders, strategic thinkers, influencers, and executors. Unleash your strengths. Love it.
If you're not familiar with that, go to, you can take a test, StrengthsFinder 2.0, and find your top strengths. And doTERRA does a lot of training on how you can utilize those strengths specifically in your business.
Are you going to share more? So Sarah's asking, are you going to share more about those system skills and leadership that you use? Yeah, it's actually not, it's not as complex as you might imagine, right? So I'm not really into, how can I phrase it? Like programs where it's like, check this box, check this box, check this box. Or like, I don't like giving people a PDF of like, here's your steps for your, becoming a diamond, because that's not how it was for me. It was a lot of committing myself, changing my mindset, same for you, and then getting creative about the way that we do things. But we do have specific things that we do. So the systems is probably the thing that's the most, there's a pattern, right? And so what are those systems? I use the hot market approach. You can look up that video on this same YouTube channel, look up hot market approach. And then we use classes, right? And the classes, the process through that, that's a system that we have in place, right? Is when somebody launches, we set up their first classes with them.
First 4 classes.
First 4 classes. Class 1, we're teaching everything. Class 2, it's half. Class 3, we're there to help with the close. And Class 4, they're on their own, right? So, and that's the pattern that people have to follow with us, or else we're not, like, they need to shift, or it's not going to be a fit for us, right? To support them, because that's what we believe. We believe in creating independence. And so that's an example of a system. And the skills then are how to invite, how to present, how to enroll, how to close people, how to promote events. And we have different videos, different trainings that kind of walk through each of those skills to give advice. And then obviously we teach those as we're working with the leader, right? But there's not a lot of mystery to it.
I have a question here that I got separately. How to motivate your builders to do the real work so they can grow with you. There are a lot of fun things that we'll do throughout our team. We love what's called blitzes. So we'll do periodic challenges, blitzes, to get people taking action. Sometimes, people will do their first 4 classes, then they'll get into a rhythm of doing 1 class per week, but then they kind of slow down, or they, stop inviting people, and then a class isn't successful, and then another week goes by and they don't do a class, and they kind of get into a tiny little rut. Having little sprints or like jumps where you do more work can really help those people get back into action mode. And so we love 30-day challenges. We like 90-day sprints. Sometimes we'll do those. Those are a little bit more intense. But we've done Rockstar of the Day challenges, where either in like, if you have a Facebook group, or maybe it's a WhatsApp group, whatever you use to communicate with your team, you can do like daily challenges where it's like, okay, today's challenge is to get someone to host a class for you, right? So then all day, everyone is contacting people to try to find a host, right? And then and then you have everybody kind of submit the results for the day, and at the end of the day, you give it a prize to one of the people that got entered in to the the drawing for participating in that challenge for the day. And Rockstar of the Day we'll usually do for like 2 weeks. When we do blitzes, we'll put together like a weekend thing where it's like 2 or 3 days in a row we have scheduled blitzes, and the blitz includes like just like a short amount of time of a lot of action, right? So it's like during this 30-minute period, or during this hour.
Really.
Yeah. So during this 30 minutes, you're going to be contacting as many people as you can, and if you get people to say they'll come to a class, you get this many points. If you say someone will host a class, they'll get this many points, right? And then it's just like challenges. So if you have more, specific questions on that, you can always ask. But
and just to reinforce the idea of like blitzes, I just barely last month, I rode my bike to a hotel like half a mile from where we live, locked myself in a hotel room for 3 days where I told my whole team, like, hey, don't talk to me. I'm in prospecting mode for the next 3 days. And for like 16 hours a day, probably not that much.
Yeah.
It's probably like, because I did a bike ride too, it's probably 12 hours a day.
Let's be honest.
I was starting new conversations. So in 3 days, what is that? 36 hours of starting new conversations with people, or conversations with people who I've prospected in the past. And that level of intensity, I'm not saying that you need to do that exactly, but just to reinforce that, like when you want to grow, like it's gonna take some discomfort. You're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to like rank advance, or if you want to find a new solid builder, solid leader. Like that's gonna take some. It's gonna take some commitment. It's gonna take some time, right? And so this idea of compressing time frames for you and your team and putting more energy in a small space of time, that's what makes this compound effect. Like I always tell people, you can sign up 20 people in your business per year and you're going to have a certain result. But if you sign up 20 people in 1 month, like this next month of October, you sign up 20 people, then you have 11 months for that result to compound for you. And that's what this business model is. It's creating that compounding effect. And so there's a lot there for blitzing. There's a lot of power in that.
One time Matt he flew out to Brazil, is where a good chunk of our team is, and did a big event. And he decided, I think it was like the day of, like, I think we should just do a blitz, because he had his presentation all planned out. And then the day of, he's like, let's just do a blitz on stage, towards the end of the presentation.
And I was so nervous that no one would take action.
And so he put together some prizes and whatnot, and they did a 30-minute blitz. It was just 30 minutes at the end of his presentation. And everyone they got on their phones, they started, writing people, asking the specific questions. And
just to be clear, because I know some of you are going to be like, what were the words that they wrote? Basically, they were it was a script that they sent out that was, hey, recently I got involved with a multi-billion-dollar company that shares wellness products, and I'm looking for hostesses. I'm looking for people who would be willing to host 5 to 8 of their friends in your home. If you're willing to do that, I'd love to give you a product for free. Would you help me out? That's like the general script, right? It may be a little bit different, but that's the general idea. And so they were reaching out to people to schedule hostesses. And man,
you can do the same thing for samples. You can do a whole blitz just on sampling people.
If you're here's a really, really practical tip for you right now. If your business is stalled right now, we're in an environment where people want to get back in person, and everybody's there's a lot of people who are being kind of hesitant to start doing in-person events again. If it were me, what I would do if I were you, if my business was stalled right now, I would write 100 of my friends, right, or acquaintances, and just offer them some free product in exchange for being a hostess. And out of 100 people that you write, you might get 5, right, that say, yeah, I'd be willing to do that.
That's 5 classes.
But
right?
from 5 classes, then at each one of those classes, you book 2 more classes with the people who are there, and you've got, what is that? 15. That's a total of 15 classes.
Yeah, you're
where maybe you're presenting to 150 people. And so it just takes some activity, right? It just takes some work, but you could do it. Okay.
Good question.
Jeff put his phone number here, so I'm just going to screenshot that. We'll add you to that group, Jeff. Okay. So this is Tammy clarifying, I think. I want a business and start getting paid. I get customers no one wants to sign up. They know the product works, but I guess they want to pay full price. Got it. Okay. Good question. So Tammy, first of all, is that okay? So is it okay to have customers that don't sign up? Yes, right? Like I would say there's probably somebody out here who's saying like, wow, she's getting customers. I can't even get customers, right? So one is acknowledge that that's a victory, right? Because sometimes we're so negative about our results that it blocks us from future results. And Shantae can ninja, give you a little shift maybe in her mindset class. But that's the first thing, because if you come from a space of gratitude for what you have, that's when then you have the energy that can make it even better, right? So, there's a lot of obvious tips, like make sure you're doing I would do wellness consults with those people, even though they haven't signed up, so that they understand the value of the LRP, they understand the value of the promotions, they understand the value of the discount that they get when they sign up. So in a one-on-one environment, say, and the way I'd invite for that is, hey, I know you recently got some products. I want to make sure that you know how to use the products that you've already purchased. When can we set up a time for me to sit down with you for 20 minutes and make sure that you're empowered with how to use your oils? And that's how we do the invite for the wellness consult. And then we sit down with the person virtually on the phone or in person, ideally in person, and walk through that live guide, right?
And usually after you've committed for a time, I'll usually just give them an upfront expectation where it's like, usually it takes about 20 minutes to get through the material that I'm going to share with you about your oils. And then if there's additional questions after that, it might take a little bit more time, just so that it's not like, wait, we went over 20 minutes and now you're taking more of my time. I like to just give them a heads up. It could take a little bit more. If you have additional questions, we can really dive into those things.
Yeah, and then if you have a customer group, I would post in the customer group each time somebody signs up. Like I would include your retail customers in your customer group on Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever. I don't know if you have a community like that. But when somebody signs up, always recognize the activity you want to see more of. Mm-hmm. And so whether it's posting in your group or even just posting on your public stories, each time someone new signs up to get the discount, if you have a lot of people buying retail from you, if you're posting in that group saying, wow, I'm so excited for Jessica, she's going to get a 25% discount on everything she buys because she became a wholesale member with us. The more you recognize that activity that you want to see more of, the more those other people will want to have the same benefit, right?
You're giving parenting tips.
Yeah,
parenting
tips.
The behavior you want to see.
I guess so.
My mom brain's like, oh yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sarah says, I don't like checkbox either, but I feel like I'm constantly recreating the wheel. I just need to keep it simple like this. I'm too creative for my own good and get distracted by things that make
quick promises.
Okay. Sarah, you are me. We're the same. Like my number one strength is ideation, right? Which means it's also something that I can just, it can lead me astray if I just put all my energy into only that. I'm an idea machine. And for years, we created so many different programs, trainings, this, that, and the other. And part of what helped us really break through was saying, okay.
Those were the years we were really stagnated.
Yeah.
The 4 years.
And part of what helped us get through was saying, okay, I am going to fall in love with the process of the mundane. Like I have taught maybe thousands of natural solutions classes. Yeah. And that's all I do now. Like that's all I do. Like I teach the same presentation over and over and over. I don't spend any time making new PowerPoints, slideshows, nothing.
Some days he comes upstairs and he's like, I don't want to teach another natural solutions class another day in my life, because he's done it so many times.
So repetitive.
But then there are other days where he comes upstairs, he's like, wow, I know what I do. I it's so fulfilling. So sometimes it's going to feel, like he said, super mundane. And like we get to be okay with that process, because that is what it takes to really start to serve those people and have that consistency.
And you do need to have if you're like me, you're going to need an outlet for your creativity. And that's why I do create videos for YouTube. That's why I just created a Udemy course. That's why I have a podcast. Like I fulfill that need for diversity and other things, but it's not a part of my doTERRA building process. So the way that people come into your world to become leads, you can use all the creativity you want, and I recommend that, right? But the way that you build, people watch that. And so your team, the newest person, they need to see that it's incredibly simple. People look at me and they realize that we don't create all these fancy PowerPoints for all these different topics. And if we're going to use a PowerPoint, we're going to pull it off of doTERRA's website, right? We're not going to spend time creating those things. And that creates the duplication, right? And the simplicity in the mind of your new builders. Okay. Are all the trainings on YouTube channel here? Lisa, we've got a lot. We've got some here. We've done a lot in other places as well, but there's a good amount here for you.
We've mostly just saved like the most important ones on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, the simple ones. Like
Yeah.
all the old stuff that we did.
Because we don't want people to get lost in just all the things.
Okay, your classes right now, are you doing them in person, online, via Zoom? Both.
Mostly online.
Yeah, but we do both.
transitioned.
I'm pushing to do online classes at the moment. I watched your great video on presenting through social media. Are there pre-made slideshows? Yeah, there's a Natural Solutions PowerPoint that we use that you can download from doTERRA's website. Just Google doTERRA Natural Solutions PowerPoint. Thank you for that October example. The benefits of that is motivating. Mary, would these classes be online that they host? Mary, you choose. They can be a hostess of an online class. Some people have people be hostesses of a Facebook class, or in person. If it were me, I would lean
In
more
this current
towards
landscape.
in person personally, because people are craving that. Like, people want to get back around people, and even if there's some
In some
initial
areas, right?
resistance,
I mean,
yeah,
there's-
depending on where, if you
you're in
can, where you
Canada
live,
or
right?
Netherlands.
But I think there needs to be a shift a little bit more into the in-person, but also the online is never going to go away. And we do most of our classes via Zoom right now. So, thank you. Y'all are so cute and amazing. I've listened to so many of Matt's podcasts, always inspiring. Thank you, Mary. What would you say to past guests that attended a class and didn't enroll and you want to follow up with them? Adriana, good question.
Is this, I'm just curious, like, how long has it been? We like to do a follow-up process that is fairly quick after. So, and I like to, like, let people know that I'm going to be following up with them. So at the end of the class, if someone hasn't, like, made a decision and they want to go home, and whether it's, like, talk to their spouse or whatever, then it's, okay, I'm gonna give you a call in a couple days to see where you're at. And then when you call them, then you can ask a couple questions. One of the questions that I like to ask is, what did you love most about the class? What did you learn? What were your takeaways? When you start there and you start with the positivity, you start with what they really liked, what was beneficial for them, then they're going to come from a space of gratitude and they're going to start expressing that. And then you can start to ask more questions about what their needs are. And that always brings you, like, I feel like when you're just so, like, how do I ask them if they want to buy or not? Like, when you, like, just think that, it gets really overwhelming. But when you just start asking them questions about how they're doing and what's going on, what they liked most, what they're thinking about, right? Those kinds of questions, then it can lead into that process of that. Do you have any other
these comments? Yeah. So another tip for that is I like to promote each class as if it's like the last class that's going to happen on planet Earth. And so I have no problem inviting the same person who already came to one class to another class, because each class is different. You guys know that. It ends up being different with people's needs, the people who are there. And most people, they're not going to memorize, like, they're not going to remember everything they learned in their first class. And so oftentimes I'll just invite them to another class. I'll be like, hey, we're doing a different class this week. We're super excited. There's going to be new people, new conversations. I know that you were curious about learning about the essential oils. Would you be open to attending? Right? And then I get the commitment. Well, yeah, you're open. Okay. Will you come? Yes. So sometimes inviting them to more exposures, right? Getting them involved in, if you're doing monthly trainings or anything like that, just the more you get them involved, sometimes it just takes multiple exposures. And then I'd go also back to social media, I'm going back to this because it's such an important thing in our world today, or it can be very useful. I won't say it's necessary, but it's very useful. where if they see that you're consistently using the products, if they see that other people are consistently joining your team, you're making public the growth that you're seeing in your business, it's going to make people more likely to get on board. So that's a couple other tips. Okay. I love this. I'm giving my team whiplash for sure. I need to fall in love with the mundane. Yeah, and fall in love with the results that the mundane will create. Because I think it's impossible to fall in love with the mundane, right? Like, and guys, I'm telling you, I get really tired of teaching natural solutions classes because it's been 9 years and I've taught thousands, I think. But like Shantae said, once I'm in it, I love it. Right? Like I love being with the people, the newest people, and giving them those exposures. So
they're like the most exciting people to talk to.
Yeah. So I always love the process once I'm in it. The resistance is usually here, right? And that's where what Shantae teaches about, mastering your thoughts. It's invaluable. It's invaluable. So you don't need to fall in love with the mundane,
exactly,
Sarah, but fall in love with the results that working the mundane consistently will produce for you.
So I have another question here that came separately. And this is a mindset question. I'm going to dial into it a tiny bit. We'll probably do like deeper dive in our Monday call next week. But she said, how do I get out of the fear that God doesn't want this for me? That it's spoiled of me to want more. And this is so fascinating. This question is so fascinating because I feel like it comes from a space of feeling not enough, right? So if you're here, and this was Ashley that asked this question, if you're here, I want to ask you, do you want to believe that the God that you believe in wants more for you? Do you want to believe that the God that you believe in believes that when you have more, you can give more and that you can serve more? So as we dial into our thoughts that create our feelings, which create our actions, like what we talk about in our Monday mindset call, I want you to just start thinking about that question. Like, what do I want to believe about the God that I believe in? Do I believe that he thinks that I'm spoiled for wanting more? Do I want to believe that he, like, the God that I believe in, he is so abundant. He's so giving. He's so loving, right? And these are the three kind of thought processes that Matt and I really think in our business. The first one is that we have God-given gifts on this earth. This plant medicine, right? All of these oils, they're God-given, and we're going to spread them to all the people that we know and love because we believe that God wants, others to have this. The other one is I don't remember what the second one is that I was thinking about, but the one that I'm remembering right now is that we're here on this earth to become the best that we possibly can. And doTERRA is this is the vehicle to honestly become the best person that you possibly can. You describe this in a way that I really, really love. How would you describe what doTERRA does for you, personal development wise?
Well, it's gonna force all of the things to the surface that you get to work on.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're dealing with people. And so whenever our business, we are in a relationship, we do relationship marketing.
Yeah.
Right. And so with that comes, all of these different dynamics that if you're going to be successful, it just forces you to be a better human.
Totally.
Through the process.
Yeah. And so I know not everyone on here is, might believe in the same higher power, but I believe that we need a vehicle that can help us to every day be stepping into something that's going to ask us to step up, level up, become a better human. So one, we are sharing amazing gifts of the earth to help people become healthier, to help people become their best versions of themselves. Two, if you are growing in this business, becoming more successful, you're going to have more means to serve. We are now making an amount of money that we can give more, that we can serve more. We're able to be the most generous we've ever been in our entire lives. And I believe that the God that we believe in wants us to be able to do that. And so play around with those thoughts in your mind, and recognize that these come from a space of lack, a space of insecurity. And is that serving you? And if it's not serving you right now, why not choose to believe something about yourself and your higher power that's really going to serve you and the people that you love in your life?
Yeah, and we're getting a little bit into beliefs, right? And I think that's healthy and that's good. You get to choose and feel into what you're inspired to believe. I believe in an abundant God who wants us to become like Him, right? And so I think that any resistance against that is from a different source, right? And so I would lean into an abundant future and a desire for that. Okay, there's a lot more questions here. Should we keep going? Because there's like probably 12 more questions here.
Yeah, let's answer a few more questions. We don't have to do all of them, but...
Okay. And keep going in the chat, guys, if you guys have more specific questions about building your doTERRA business. We'll answer a few more here. I'm going to skip that one for now. Okay, wanting to learn the best ways to get online leads for Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Amanda, let me give you a few rapid fire tips. Okay. So I look at the online world in 3 buckets. Okay. There are controllable strategies, there's residual lead flow, and there's personal brand. Okay. Now, if you're at the beginning stage of your business, I would focus almost all of your time on controllable strategies. What are controllable strategies? Controllable strategies is you initiating conversations. So it's you reaching out to the people that already engage with you on social media. So let's say you put up a story about how you use your protein today and it's helping you lose weight, right? And you get people who throw some hearts at your story, or somebody sends you a comment, or maybe it's a post on Facebook and somebody likes it, or on Instagram. Each person who likes that post, you can reach out to them and start a conversation. And it's not, hey, do you want to buy doTERRA's new protein? No, it's, hey, I'm curious, why did you like my post, right? Or I'm curious, what got you engaged with this? And you can even say, I'm trying to find the right content to generate curiosity and interest among my friends because I'm doing this as a business. What did you like about that post, right? And so you're driving the conversation in a positive direction and you're starting up conversations. Not in a spammy way where it's like, here's the link to buy, boom, right? Like that's not going to work. But that's controllable. You can control how many conversations you start, okay?
It's also not just people that are engaging with you, but you can be, finding people that are complaining about certain issues, and you can be commenting under their stuff and just be like, like maybe it's someone whose child is sick. That's so hard. I'm so sorry you're going through that. Just start like writing to people, not being like, oh, that's so hard. I'm sorry you're going through that. Make sure that you look at, this video about On Guard that I did, right? Like just starting those conversations. One thing that we do on Instagram is have a completely separate list of people that we've been engaging with, so that as they do stories, you can be top of mind for them. That you can be commenting on their stories, liking their stories, and creating those conversations.
Let me give you a really practical example of something I'm doing right now that falls into bucket 1 of controllable strategies. So I'm doing a challenge right now that's called 75 Hard. Okay. And every day I'm posting, except for yesterday, because I forgot to post it yesterday, but every day I'm posting a picture of me and that I completed the activities of this fitness challenge 75 Hard. Now, I'm not perfect at it, but I'm also trying to incorporate stories where I'm posting about me using the doTERRA protein, Slim and Sassy in my ginger shot, deep blue on my muscles and things. And so I'm posting other content that kind of shows how I'm being supported in the challenge. Now, for the last 4 days, and I should have started it from the beginning because I've been doing the challenge for 11 days, but for the last 4 days, I've spent 30 minutes going into Instagram, looking up the hashtag 75 Hard, and guess what I find? A bunch of people who are going through the same challenge at the same time. In other words, we have something in common. I'm creating content that it might or might not appeal, but it's more likely to appeal to somebody and they're going to feel some connection. So when I see somebody who posts, I'm on day 5 of 75 Hard, I can be like, you're awesome, keep going. That's so amazing, right? And that's the only message I send. Or if I see somebody who's on day 60, I write them and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm only on day 11. This is so hard, but I know it's going to be worth it. Thanks for inspiring, right? And I'm just starting these conversations with people. Now, what's going to happen? They're going to be like, who's this Matt guy, right? Like, and they're going to go and look at my account. And where do people click on first? They click on that little ball with the colors around it that shows your stories, right? So then they're going to go and see my stories, and I'm just dripping on them, right? They're just going to see every day if they choose to follow me. That's their choice, or whether they follow me or not. But they're going to see me posting about 75 hard, and doTERRA, right?
And if you continue to support them, cheer for them, be commenting in their stories, that's why we keep a separate
inbox. So we have a list, and you can keep it on paper if you just want to write down the names of the people that you're following on Instagram.
I feel like it's more organized for us to just have it in a separate inbox on Instagram. But if you continue to go in and cheer for those people, comment on their things, after you've done it 4 or 5 times, they're gonna be like, wow, this person's really following my stuff. They're gonna feel like you're like friends, and they're way more likely to go follow you back, right?
Beautiful. So that's controllable strategies. Now let's go into residual lead flow. Residual lead flow is like YouTube. You're not like reaching out to people on YouTube. It's not easy to do. You'd have to like email them, which is not going to work, right? But you can create content on YouTube that creates residual lead flow. And we've signed up probably over 200 people through YouTube. Okay. So this is a strategy I like, but it's one that takes a lot of time. What I would do is create videos around specific keywords that people are searching that are related to doTERRA's products. It doesn't have to be doTERRA On Guard essential oil. It can be how to create natural immunity, right? It could be how to, it could be anything that
was a good one
that you feel like fits with, what you're passionate about teaching right now. But that's a long-term strategy. So that's why I don't really recommend it for the people who are at the beginning. And even me today, I don't spend as much time doing that as I spend doing controllable strategies. But it is valuable to do things like that can over time create some residual lead flow.
Yeah, and that word residual kind of gives you a clue as to like what that's going to create and how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
Because when we're talking about building a doTERRA business and how it's a pipeline and how that's residual income, we often like to refer it as like there's hauling buckets and there's building a pipeline, right? And that hauling buckets is an everyday thing that you've got to do just to make sure you've got enough money to live. But then on the side, you're doing making the pipe so you can have that residual income. It's the same thing with this, where you're doing your buckets, right? You're doing the controllable buckets, like you said, but on the side, maybe you're creating some videos each week, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then the third category is a personal brand. And this is where a lot of people, I actually started this a little bit too early. I started it while we were in phase 2 of our earnings. I started phase 3, which was like creating a website, having a podcast, things like that. And I recommend doing that after you've had some success with doTERRA. So after you're earning a full-time income, maybe you're living on doTERRA and you want to explore that more, you can. It's going to be the slowest and the longest strategy, but it can have massive reach. Like you look at some people in doTERRA who have created a lot of influence online. And obviously that's a powerful thing to have a strong personal brand that's targeting, that's all about yoga, or that's all about, for me, I like talking about network marketing. So that's what it's about. Whatever it is, and that can be really powerful, but it takes a lot of time, and it's the least controllable of the 3. So that's why if you're at the beginning of this, focus on bucket 1, which is these controllable strategies. Then comes some assets that you're creating to create residual lead flow, whether that's YouTube or whatever it may be. You can do blogging. Again, it takes a long time. And then you have your personal brand. So those are some tips around how to generate leads on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Hope that's helpful, Amanda. Okay, let's check YouTube here, see if there's any follow-up questions on that. Nope. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? We've talked about attracting leaders and builders. What program do you use and duplicate? What does your family life... There's a lot of questions here. So what program...
Maybe this should be our last, since we're reaching an hour.
Okay, yeah, we'll wrap it up. So what program do you use and duplicate? We use the doTERRA tools. Mm-hmm. That's our program. So That means natural solutions presentation. It means the live guide, the share guide, the build guide, the launch guide, the multiply guide, all of the other guides. And that's really all we use. The only other thing
to be honest, we don't use the share guide as often. We really focus on the natural solutions class, the live guide, and the build guide. Those are the three that we really focus on. But we do use the other tools as supporting tools as needed.
Yep. What does your family life look like? This is a lot of questions in the same question here.
Like,
are you traveling to achieve that? I'd love to see your weekly schedule, like holding team calls, weekly classes, follow up, what you're doing on a daily basis.
Great question. This is one that really, like, I know you want to take a peek into our lives. This is one that, like, each family needs to dial into themselves. Like, what's important to you? What are your priorities? We always make sure that every single day we are touching the income producing activities. Matt spends a lot of time. He does like most of the time in doTERRA, but we do hacky sack responsibilities with the kids. We like to call it hacky sacking, right? And taking turns taking care of them as well as doing the business.
Yeah, and then, we did go through a phase that we were traveling for 6 months, and that was super fun. And honestly, we kind of, in part, that was to get out of a workaholic state where we were just like only working. And so we took 6 months to kind of reset as a family.
We visited teams. So that was
events.
Yeah, more of our work at that point was just like visiting teams, developing relationships, and doing some local events in those areas.
Yeah, we kind of build in these phases of big pushes. And so that was the most time that we've been the most relaxed over the 9 years that we've been building doTERRA.
Yeah.
But we're back in our normal routine. So team calls. So Shantae's doing her weekly mindset mentoring that we were opening up to anybody in doTERRA. And then I do a lot of mentoring. So I try to mentor with our qualifiers every single week. So that's a part of our weekly schedule. Classes, honestly, because we create independence in people. I'm a fan. I like it when people have one team, like one intro class for everybody to invite people to, but at the same time, that could be a hindrance because people on the team, they feel like if they just invite 2 people that they're doing the work, when that's not going to create quick results for them, or it's not going to grow them. It's just going to maintain them. And so it's good to have something like that. But honestly, most of my time doing like classes is launching new people. So if I'm launching new people, we have their 4 classes on the schedule, and whether it's, we work through those classes. And then we have teams in different countries. And so like on Monday, I'm doing a team training for a group in Japan. So it's, there's no...
Yeah, every Wednesday you have our Mozambique class.
I have our Africa call every Wednesday. So, that's kind of what it looks like. I don't know if that's anything else about our daily routine. One thing that I will say is I spend at least an hour prospecting
every day,
every single day. And that is sacred. Okay.
It is, you guys.
You can't not have productive time every day. It cannot just be maintenance time. Every day you have to have at least some time that is prospecting. And for me, it's minimum of an hour. Oftentimes it's more than that. So.
Awesome. Yeah.
Is that good?
Thank you for all your questions.
Double check here on YouTube. What if your family doesn't see eye to eye? Good question. I would say...
just keep loving them.
Yeah. And honestly, usually people don't see eye to eye when you don't have results, right? Once you've created results, usually they see eye to eye. And it's a sad truth, but sometimes you just need to work. A lot of people need to just work doTERRA into the crevices of their lives, the cracks of their lives when they can, and create clear boundaries with a spouse or whoever it may be that doesn't agree, where it's like, okay, I really want to do this. Okay. And the conversation I would have with Shantae is like, let's say she didn't want to do doTERRA. I'd be like, hey, listen, I really want to do this. And I know you're going to support me, but I also want to do it in a way that doesn't conflict with our family or with your needs. And so I want to make sure I have some time every day that I can dedicate to this goal of mine. Can we work together to find a time for me to do that, right? And that's how I'd approach
good
it.
Communication.
Oh yeah,
It's really good.
yeah. So that's how I would approach it, and then honestly just work to create a result, because the more and usually it's a woman who has a husband who, and I'm not saying this is your case necessarily, but usually it's a woman who has a husband who is doesn't believe that it's going to produce a result, right? And so as soon as it creates a result, usually those husbands turn around. Like, that's all it takes. So that's what I'd say, is just do the work to and really work on the mindset piece. Like, plug into Shantae's mindset trainings, because it is hard when you have a constant force of not negativity necessarily, but just opposition. And it's not like, it's just a different mindset, or a different what would be the word? Yeah, a different belief. So just really work on keeping your thoughts clear, so that you can create the action that will bring you the results that will then prove to them that it's worth it. So
awesome. Thank you so much, you guys.
Okay.
Again, that mindset coaching call, if you want to join that, it's just every Monday at 10 a.m. It's Zoom, so you can see everybody all together, and you just raise your hand to ask your specific question, and we just dial in and just coach mindset and really start to ask deeper questions, shift that mindset so that you can go forward in your business and really get the results that you want. And so just text me or write me through Instagram. It's Matt_Shantay, and my name is spelled Seantay. And I'll see you on that call. Otherwise, we will do another Q&A call next Friday, because we have more questions to get through.
Yeah, same time, same place. And people are asking, do you ever do coaching for people not on your team? And that's exactly why we started this, is we were having so many requests. That's why we started the weekly mindset training that Shantae's doing, and that's why we started this Q&A here. So this is where you can plug in for that.
Yeah, so anybody, whether you're on our team or not, can join Monday or Friday or this Q&A call.
Okay, now it's time to get to work. Don't fall into the trap of just learning. Go take action today. Create a result in your business today.